Hello students, in today's lesson we are going to talk about clauses, a fundamental concept in English grammar. By the end of this lesson you will be able to define what is clause and identify dependent and independent clause. Let's define what is clause. A clause is a group of words containing subject and predicate, expressing a complete or incomplete thought. There are two main types of clauses: dependent clause, that is known as main clause, and independent clause, that is also known as subordinate clause. Now first we will discuss about independent clause. An independent clause is a group of words that contains subject, means noun or pronouns, has a predicate, means verb or verb phrase, and expresses a complete thought. For example, she eats breakfast. This clause meets the above three criteria for an independent clause. So this is an independent clause. This sentence has a subject she, has a predicate verb eats, and also expresses a complete thought. Means the sentence makes sense on its own. Next, we will discuss about the characteristics of independent clause. An independent clause can stand alone as a complete sentence. It means they do not rely on dependent clause or any other clause to complete its meaning. An independent clause has a clear subject-verb relationship. It also expresses a self-contained idea. Means this clause has a clear subject, specific verb, and convey a meaningful message. Next we will discuss about dependent clause, that is also known as subordinate clause. Dependent clause has three main types: adverbial clause, adjective clause, and noun clause. Dependent clause also contains a subject, has a predicate, but it relies on an independent clause to complete its meaning. It cannot stand alone. These clauses always need an independent clause to complete its meaning. For example, when I arrive at the airport. This is the example of dependent clause. This clause begins with a subordinate conjunction when, also has a subject I, has a predicate means verb arrive, but it lacks a complete thought. This clause needs additional information to make sense. So to form a complete sentence, it needs an independent clause to provide the main action or state. For example, when I arrive at the airport, I will call you. The sentence expresses a promise or a plan to call someone upon arriving at the airport. Now this sentence provides a complete thought or idea. I hope you understand. Next, we will discuss about the characteristics of dependent clause. Dependent clause cannot stand alone, as we already discussed. It expresses an incomplete thought. It begins with a subordinate conjunctions or relative pronouns. Let me introduce you subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions are words that introduce dependent clauses and connecting them to independent clauses. For example, because, although, unless, until, since, after, and while. For example, because I forgot my wallet. This is a dependent clause that begins with a subordinate conjunction because. Next is since I graduated. This is also a dependent clause begins with a subordinate conjunction since. Example is the car that I bought is red. I bought is a dependent clause that begins with a relative pronoun that. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for